This wasn't just a return. It was a kind of performance that instantly forces the entire league to recalibrate. Because within minutes, it became clear this wasn't about easing back into the WNBA. This was Caitlin Clark stepping in and immediately reclaiming control of the conversation. Inside that gym, the energy wasn't normal. You could feel the tension building with every possession. Front office staff weren't just observing, they were evaluating. Media wasn't just recording, they were waiting for confirmation. Because every major storyline surrounding Caitlin Clark, her role, her usage, her impact, was about to be answered right there on the floor. Over the past week, the noise around the WNBA hasn't just been loud, it's been divisive. Questions about Caitlin Clark's role in Indiana started turning into real debate. Was she being fully unleashed, or was something behind the scenes quietly holding her back? That tension followed her straight into this moment. Here's what makes this different, and honestly, a little shocking. This didn't follow the typical return script. There was no slow build-up, no hesitation, no testing the waters. From the first sequence, she was already operating at full speed, reading defenses, dictating tempo, and making decisions like someone who never left the court. What stood out wasn't just how she moved. It was how sharp everything looked. The timing, the spacing, the decision-making, all felt deliberate, like every second away from the game had been spent preparing for this exact moment, not just a return, but a takeover. And the truth is, this didn't come out of nowhere. If you've been paying close attention, there were subtle signs building up to this, small glimpses that something bigger was coming. This was just the first time it all showed up at once. Caitlin Clark's impact goes beyond scoring or highlight plays. What makes her different is how she reshapes the entire system around her. Defenses adjust, teammates adapt, coaching decisions shift. And when that kind of influence is fully unlocked, it doesn't just elevate a team, it changes how the league responds. And that's where this becomes bigger than just one performance. Because what we saw wasn't random, it looked intentional, like a clear direction for how this team wants to operate and what they expect from her moving forward. Now, compare this to last season. The difference is impossible to ignore. The roster isn't just deeper, it's more functional. There's more spacing, more support, and more flexibility in how they can attack defenses, which raises a serious question. Are teams actually prepared for what this version of Indiana could become? So now it comes down to this, and this is where it gets real. Are we watching the moment Caitlin Clark officially takes control of the WNBA? Or are people still underestimating just how big this shift is about to be? Because if this was even a preview, then the rest of the league might not be ready for what's coming next. Drop your take below, because this conversation is just getting started. And here's where things start to get uncomfortable for the rest of the league. Because when a player like Caitlin Clark begins to look this comfortable this early, it forces a completely different level of preparation from opponents. You're no longer just game planning for a scorer. You're trying to contain a system. And historically, the WNBA has seen what happens when one player reaches that level of control. It shifts power across the entire league. What makes this even more dangerous is how quickly her teammates seem to be adjusting to her rhythm. You can already see it in the spacing, the timing of cuts, the confidence in ball movement. That kind of chemistry usually takes months to build. But here, it's forming fast. And if that continues, Indiana isn't just improving, they're accelerating past expectations. Now, think about the pressure this creates internally. Because once a team sees this version of its star player, expectations don't stay the same. Coaches start making bolder decisions. Rotations tighten. The margin for error shrinks. And suddenly, what started as development turns into a real push for contention. That shift is where seasons are defined. But let's not ignore the bigger picture here. The WNBA itself is watching this closely. Caitlin Clark isn't just another player having a strong moment. She's directly tied to the league's current surge in attention, viewership, and overall hype. So when her performance spikes like this, it doesn't just impact Indiana, it affects the entire business side of the league. And that's where the conversation around controversy starts to change. Because when production matches the hype, narratives lose their power. All the debates about usage, treatment, and expectations suddenly get replaced by something much simpler: results. And if she keeps delivering like this, the conversation won't just shift, it will disappear. What's also important here is how controlled everything looked. This wasn't reckless energy or force aggression. It was calculated. Every move had purpose. Every decision felt intentional. And that level of control is usually what separates good players from players who dominate entire seasons. Now imagine this version of Caitlin Clark 5, 10, 15 games into the season, when timing is even sharper, when chemistry is fully locked in, when the offense is running exactly how it's designed. That's the scenario that should have the rest of the WNBA paying very close attention right now. Because if this is the baseline, not the peak, but the starting point, then the ceiling becomes a real problem for every team trying to compete. And that's not hype, that's trajectory. You can see it forming in real time. So the real question isn't whether Caitlin Clark is ready. It's whether the WNBA is ready for what happens next if she continues on this path. Because moments like this don't just hint at greatness. They signal the beginning of something the league can't ignore.